In this video, I am going to talk about how to unlearn the negative thought that you are having, how to unlearn the old identity that you are having, how to unlearn the old habit that you are having. This is what I am going to talk about in this video. And yes, let us start the topic of the video. And before that, let me tell you that if you are in a self improvement journey or a self development journey, then here you do not need to read another self improvement book. You do not need to watch another self improvement podcast or take another course. It means you do not have to add a thing. Here you do not have to do a addition. It means you do not need to acquire the stuff knowledge. What you here really need is you need to unlearn. You need to subtract thing from your life. You need to remove the thing from your life. This is what you have to do. It means you need to unlearn the old identity that you are having. You need to unlearn the emotional contract that you are having. You need to unlearn the fear that you are having. You need to unlearn the assumption that you have made, that is what you have to unlearn. You need to unlearn the old story that you tell to yourself on a daily basis. Right? This is what you have to do. And let me tell you about something which is negative bias. Let me tell you what is negative bias. It means we as a human being focus more on a negative than on a positive thing. It means we notice more negativity than positivity. Let me tell you why. What is the reason behind it? Because thousands years ago or 10,000 years ago, when our ancestor used to live in a jungle, when our ancestor used to live in a forest, at that time there used to be always threat for survival, because there used to be always another lion, there used to be always another tiger, there used to be always another wild animal that would kill our ancestor. That why whole day our ancestor used to live in a state of anxiety, always used to live in a stress, always used to be live in a fear. That why all day long they always used to live in a negative state negative state of mind. That is why this all the genetics, all the genes has been passed over us. That is why we focus more on a peace, we focus more on a pain than pleasure. We focus more on a criticism than compliment. We focus more on fear or threat than opportunity, because the genetics has been passed from our ancestor, right? And let me tell you something, that you will have greatest freedom when you will realize that your thought is just a suggestion. Your thought is not a command. Your thought is not a truth. Your thought is not a fact. Your thought is just suggestion. It means you have to consider your thought as a suggestion rather than command, truth, or fact. And let me tell you why. Because our brain having a negative bias that we have just discussed now. That is why our brain will say to ourselves always negative. Our brain will say to ourselves that you are overthinker, you are lazy guy, you are so much anxious guy, and your brain will be saying to yourself that do not do that thing or do not start a business, otherwise you will fail in the business. It means our brain will be always saying negative, and here we do not need to be that kind of obedient child who is just following our mind. We do not need to be that kind of guy. We do not need to consider this all as a command, as a truth, as a fact. It is our job, it is our duty, it is our choice, this we have to decide that whether we have to listen to our brain or not. And let me tell you that you do not have to listen your brain, because our brain will always say bullshit kind of thing. That is why instead of following our brain, we have to follow our intuition, we have to follow our heart. This is a deep topic. It will take so much long time to explain it. That's why you can read about this thing, about intuition or heart, or you can watch a video on the YouTube about that thing, right? And let me tell you how you can unlearn the old habit that you are having, and how you can unlearn the old identity that you are having, how you can unlearn the old story that you are telling to yourself on a daily basis. How? It is by doing identity audit. What does it mean? It means you have to really ask yourself hard question to yourself. It means you have to ask question yourself like, where did I learn this? Who taught this to me? Is this actually true? Or you have to ask yourself like question like, is this fundamentally true that I am not good enough? Is this fundamentally true that I am not confident? Is this fundamentally true that I am not lovable? This level of question you have to ask yourself. You have to also ask yourself that what are the things I need to unlearn in order to be the best version of myself. You need to ask yourself this all very hard question to yourself. Yes, it will take so much time to give the answer of that. It might take one day, it might take 1 month, it might take 1 year to give the answer to this all the hard question, right? And yes, it will take so much hard question, it will take so much hard time, it will take so much time to give the answer of this question, and you will unlearn, right? And let me tell you about something, which is that when you were 6 year old, then maybe somebody laughed at you when you spoke. Maybe your parents argue every single day. Maybe you learn being quiet kept you safe. Maybe you learn love can be earned. And you learn this all the stuff when you were 6 7 year old. And you do not need to think this as a fact or a truth. It is just a conclusion that your 7 year old self has made. And let me tell you about something, which is that according to psychologists, 95% of who you are, it means your identity is formed when you were 6 or 7 year old. It means if your age is now 20 year old, 30, 40, 50, or whatever age you are in now, then if you will never unlearn your identity, then you will be your 7 version of yourself, because you have never unlearned, right? And for unlearning, you do not need another book, you do not need another podcast, you do not need another course, or you do not need to take the advice of another self-help guru. The only thing you need is pen and paper, and you have to sit down and you have to give the answer of your very hard question. The question can be like, what are the things I need to unlearn in order to be the best version of myself, in order to get to the point where I really want to be. You have to ask really hard question, as I have just asked a question, as I have just, you got my point of this video. Bye. Feeling so much sleepy, feeling so much hungry. I'm going to eat the food. Bye.